I'm gonna break down what's happening in this video and show you how we could be more helpful next time. Okay, so I get where this parent is coming from. Her child just showed a behavior that could be considered hurtful. And her belief is that if she does not punish her child right now, then she will not learn how to behave better in the future. And that is such a common misconception. The punishment actually distracts the child from learning how to do better next time they're in that situation. I'm gonna explain why that is. You're gonna see that in this video. And I'm going to show you how we could have transformed this moment into a powerful learning experience. To understand behavior, it's helpful to understand the brain. So I'm gonna give you a very simplified version of what's happening in the body brain. So it's important to know that our brain processes information and develops bottom up. The survival state is where our physical reactions come from, like fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. Our emotional state is where most of our verbal reactions come from. The name calling, the blaming, the no, the finger wagging, the FUs, they all come from the emotional state. Now, this is the executive state. This is where our executive state skills are, like empathy, impulse control, emotional regulation, time management, and many others. The capacity for this part of the brain isn't fully developed till at least 25, 26. We can only practice executive state skills when we're in an executive state. And this is the part of the brain that is responsible for regulating the lower centers of our brain. So when mom typed into the caption of this video and said that her child let her intrusive thoughts get the best of her, she was right. Because this child's executive state and prefrontal lobes are still developing, she's going to have a hard time with impulse controls and controlling her reactions. It's not because she's a bad child or a bad parent. It's just because that's how the brain works. So they're punishing this child for not being able to manage her reactions when they're adults with fully formed brains and still struggling to manage their own reactions, which in this video happen to be laughter. Now, when this parent forced this child into isolation, she sent the child down to the lower centers of her brain and created a power struggle that distracts the child from actually learning to do something better next time. But hey, let's do more than look at the brain. Let's look at the video. What do you think that she's learning right now? Okay, now I already know what some of y'all are thinking. Some of y'all are thinking, she's learning not to throw things and she's learning not to give disingenuous apologies after she does something wrong. And for those who are thinking that, just know that teaching someone what not to do without teaching them what to do is a waste of everybody's time. And I'll prove it to you right here. You're probably watching this video right now thinking, okay, Mr. Chaz, you're telling me all the things that this parent is doing wrong, what not to do. What do I do instead? Because if I'm in this situation, I want to know what to do. And you're right. And I'm getting there. But before I do, take a moment to reflect on how frustrating this video would feel if I just ended it right here and didn't give you anything else to do. How useless that would be for you in changing your behavior next time you're in this situation or a similar situation. Okay, so let's run this video back and I'm gonna focus on all the things that we could have done to be helpful along the way to turn this moment into a powerful teaching moment. Okay, a few seconds in, we already have an opportunity for learning. So the first thing that I would do here is to pause, take a breath before we even respond or say anything to the child. The second thing I would do is try to see it from the child's perspective, what they were trying to do with that behavior. Were they trying to get his attention or were they trying to make a joke? What was the child trying to do with that behavior? If the child was trying to get the dad's attention, we could say, you wanted to get his attention. Next time, tap him on the shoulder when you want to get his attention. Or next time, say his name when you want to get his attention. Or maybe a combination of the both. And then have the child practice doing that so they learn to do that next time and that pattern gets built within their body rather than the way they were getting the attention the other way, which was by throwing something at the dad's face. Or hey, maybe the child was actually trying to tell a joke. I mean, that's honestly classic 3-year-old humor. And clearly the joke actually did land because apparently the parents found it to be funny. Clearly this child has some comedic timing or something to make her parents laugh with this behavior, because that's not an easy thing to do. So maybe there's some talent there. And in this moment, the way that we could respond is saying, you wanted to tell a joke. This is how you tell a joke. Tell a knock-knock joke. Let's do one together. And teach her how to be funny in a way that may not be so potentially hurtful to somebody else. So pause, see her behavior from her perspective, and teach her how to get what she wants in a better, more appropriate way. So the joke didn't land the way that the child hoped that it would, and she can see it all on her parents' face. And so she says, I'm sorry. And it does sound pretty genuine to me, but obviously it doesn't feel genuine to the parent, the mom in this situation. And she says, you're gonna have to say you're sorry later. But if you feel like the child needs to work on their apology, then work on their apologies. And remember, she can only really access the executive skill of empathy when she's in the executive state. So when she gets sent down to the emotional state, it's too late for us to really practice this skill. Instead, the parent could have responded like, you wanted to let dad know that you were sorry? Tell him why you're sorry. Or, yeah, you're sorry. How do you think we can make this better? And even if the child does not have answers for these questions, the important piece is that we're sparking a thought process and actions of a genuine apology. As we practice apologies with children, we want to help them practice admitting what they did, expressing some remorse about it, talking about what they're going to do better next time, and trying to make it better in the moment if they can. But when we punish children, force children to isolation during these moments, we take away their opportunity to learn to do better, because we're forcing them into the lower centers of the brain where they cannot. And the parents in this video deserve empathy too, because they are trying their best. The belief that children have to feel bad to learn to do better is not a belief that they created. It's something that was passed down to them. Now, their parents may have passed down that belief in a different way. Maybe it was with spanking, or maybe it was with yelling. And now these parents think that they're breaking the cycle of this belief with forced isolation. But because they weren't taught what to do differently, what to do better, they're falling in the same belief system that they were raised in, and maybe even potentially trying to break. And these cycles are vicious. They can be hard to identify and even harder to break. But there are 2 books that will give you the tools on what to do as opposed to what not to do. This Conscious Discipline book is the #1 book that I recommend for learning all the strategies you need to break these generational cycles. And this Managing Emotional Mayhem book is really helpful too. It dives deep into teaching you as the adult how to self-regulate, and teaching you how to teach your child to self-regulate, and how to use those moments where they are having the meltdowns, when they're in the survival state, when they're in the emotional state, and how you can use these moments to actually be really powerful teaching moments to teach children how to eventually self-regulate. Look in the caption of this video and I'll tell you how to find it. And as you're on your learning journey, remember, avoid being a perfectionist. Be an improvementist. The goal isn't to be perfect every day. The goal is to improve a little every day. And if you stayed to the end of this video, I know you got this.